Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to South Boston Speedway here in Virginia. The AWSCO Snapdragon Continental Series is back here for 250 laps around this very short racetrack. This is the kind of racing that I think a lot of people were looking forward to in this series specifically. There's a lot of short tracks in this schedule, and I think the LI 250 tonight is going to put on a real nice show for everyone to to enjoy. And joining me here in the studio is Liam, I believe.
Yes, it
Move the
is.
camera over. Hi,
Hello.
Liam.
Hello, everybody. And yeah, it's going to be a great race tonight. I mean, we've seen short track racing already this season in both series, but in the AWSCO Continental Series specifically, it's been really good. And this track's going to be no exception. 4/10 of a mile, so it is a
Easily the
very,
shortest track in this schedule.
very short track. But there's going to be a lot of cars taking up very little space, and it'll be interesting to see how the field manages that today.
Yeah, it's going to be a test, and this is one of two tracks under half a mile that we're going to be racing at here in this series specifically. I believe San Eustache up in Canada, that'll be the second time we'll race at a 4/10 of a mile oval. But it'll be interesting to note is that of course the Cup Series is also racing here, so this is a double header. Yeah, this is a double header event, and well the Continental teams are going to be a little bit more familiar with this kind of racing. So we'll see if teams that are running in both series will have a little bit of an easier time adapting to this kind of racing in the Cup teams. But at the same time, I think everyone's going to be keeping an eye on the Continental teams tonight and trying to get as many lessons as possible for the Cup race that'll happen tomorrow night, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's been a long time since South Boston Speedway has seen anything really outside of anything bigger than late model racing. I mean, the NASCAR Busch Series ran here last time they ran was in 2000 at this racetrack. Truck Series stopped running here in 2003. Outside of modifieds and some Cars Tour and late model stuff, it's been a long time coming. So it'll be interesting to see how these big cars handle this very small track.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that a lot of fans were excited about when the ASCO Continental Series schedule was released, and there's a lot of throwbacks, a lot of deep cuts to old NASCAR Busch Series venues, and that kind of racing is something that I think a lot of people are looking forward to, and I think the drivers and teams are also looking forward to as well. Although there's obviously going to be a lot of physical action. I think lots of uh, with the dimensions of these cars, there's inevitably going to be a lot of contact between cars. We saw that at Bristol. We saw that a little bit of that at Irwindale as well. Although Irwindale definitely had a different style of
Different vibe
racing
to it
with
for
the
sure.
traction compound they put in there. I don't think we have that. I don't think we have that in place for this track. So this is going to be a lot more of a bottom feeder track, much more of a traditional kind of short track race, uh, as opposed to that kind of racing that we saw at Irwindale. So,
Yeah.
Liam, do you think that kind of racing will lend itself to a few more incidents as we see how they shake up?
I think so. I think with the way that the short tracks that have been run so far this season have really been, you can run anywhere and still find speed, especially at Irwindale. It was elbows out. We were four wide in certain spots at Irwindale. South Boston, with this track being, an older track surface, no traction compound down, it's going to be different to the rest of the short track racing that the field has been used to all season long. Even Nazareth, if we're considering that a short track, and Bristol aren't going to race like this. So
Yeah.
if they keep up that elbows out style of racing they've carried all season, we're definitely going to see some cars making contact tonight.
hmm Nazareth, of course, is a very different track. That it is a flat track, but the way that track drives is not like anything else. And Bristol, of course, is a high banked concrete short track. So those are two relatively unique tracks. Well, this is more conventional asphalt paved, low banking kind of short track. And this is the first time we've seen the Continental cars race here since Irwindale, and well, we mentioned the lack of traction compound, and that's definitely going to play a role. So, passing might very well be at a premium at this track. So, track position is going to be important, and we'll take a look at the starting grid now. And the cars at the front are definitely going to have, I think, a built-in advantage, at least in the beginning of the race. We'll see how pit strategy works out and that kind of thing, because, of course, tires are going to be important. So we're going to be seeing a lot of play with the tires, I think, and hopefully tire wear is good enough that it will cause a meaningful difference at this track, and teams are going to be able to work with those tires and kind of create their strategy around the tire wear here.
I mean, you mentioned pit strategy, and that's one of the things that I don't think we can carry over from the experience we saw at Irwindale earlier this season. Obviously, there were some weird issues getting into pit lane for the field at Irwindale, both under caution and under green. This track, I don't think we're going to have those problems, so it'll be a lot more down to how the actual pit crew's performance affects their race as opposed to getting onto pit lane and getting out of it.
Yeah, I agree with you there in terms of how much more conventional this race's pit strategy is going to be. It's not going to be as weird as Irwindale, where we had those. I'm not sure if we have those special rules in place for this track that we did at Irwindale, but I don't think the pit lane is as unconventional here as it is at that track specifically. And of course, the way that this track is set up, I do think that track position might very well be more important than tire wear, at least, especially on the short run. But if you do get freight trained on a long run, I think that'll really hurt you as the race goes on. Finally, we'll take a look at the starting grid here. Our front row consists of Alice Hageman and Takamoto Aya, and then you have Naomi Davenport in the 22 and Reina Munoz in the 7 in your top two rows. Liam, do you think these four cars at the front here are going to be able to hold their place as the race goes on, or do you think we're going to see a lot of comers and goers as the race over the course of the race?
I think it's going to depend on the length of the run. If we get a really long green flag run and we really get to see those tires start to fall apart, I think being up at the front is going to give you a bit of a disadvantage because you've got everybody coming in behind you. They're coming in hot. They're ready to move you out of the way for track position. If we're going on a short run, though, and we get a few cautions early, these guys are going to be laughing just because they're right up at the front of the field. They don't need to worry about avoiding any accidents, at least until they come back around the track, but hopefully they should be slowed down by then. If we get a bunch of short runs to start the race, I don't think it's going to be a problem for these guys to hold their track position. If we get into a long run and some of the guys behind them who've been saving tires try and get aggressive, it's going to be a lot harder for them to hang on to those top four positions.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. And when it comes to Aya, she's had quite a bit of success already at these tracks. Aya, I believe, finished 8th at Irwindale and 5th at Bristol, so she has quite a bit of success already at these short tracks. So not entirely surprised to see her qualify here. Hopefully she can keep that performance up in the race, as she is just outside of the playoff line, and if she can secure a win, that would really do her a world of good in the standings. Any last words before we head over to the booth?
I think so. I mean, you look at the track, you had mentioned the bottom's going to be strong. You can even just take a look at the track surface and see how rubbered in the inside is compared to the outside. It'll be interesting to see how all of these drivers tackle the this type of track surface today. And it's going to be a great race.
Yeah. And with that, we'll take you over to the booth. We'll get ready for the pre-race commands, and we'll introduce you to Echo and the booth crew for tonight's race.
All right. Well, hello, and welcome to the South Boston Speedway for race number 11. We're back after a bit of a hiatus. We're back here from the South Boston Speedway. I'm Echo. I'm joined by Matthew in the booth alongside me. Hello, Matthews. Hello.
Oh, hello there.
Hi.
Great to be here.
Yeah, so, we've had a bit of short track races this season so far. There's been, Irwindale was a very exciting race. Bristol was a pretty solid race. You think this race will see something different, or do you think we might see something like we saw in Bristol or Irwindale, where, you know, multiple groups kind of were something like Irwindale where multiple groups were in play, or something like Bristol where the bottom's going to be really key?
Now, it's gonna depend here. From what I saw at this track, it's probably gonna be a multi-group rank. I wouldn't be surprised if we do get free white early on. Potentially have a caution here, but who knows? It's 250 laps here. Definitely the longest I've seen out of this track, so it's gonna be interesting to see how this race will go on.
All right, well, let's go through our starting grid for this race. In row 1, Alice Hageman sits on the pole, and alongside it is Takamoto Aya. Row 2, Naomi Davenport sits alongside Reina Munoz. In row 3, Deborah Williams in the 55 is alongside Sandy Martel. Row 4 is the 35 of Krista Andresen and the 84 of Casper Von Weber. Row 5, the 99 Karina Willis-Callaway is alongside the 95 of Cara Reynolds. Second in points is the 95. Row 6, the 2 Rachel Ramos, who won at Phoenix, and the 64 of Mayumi Moriyama. Row 7, Daytona winner Freya Van Lundquist is alongside the 96 of Lynn Oswell. Row 8 is the 14 Katrin Edelstein and the 93 Izzy Oberman, who's won 2 races this season. Row 9, the 40 Lara Sundale, winner at Nazareth, alongside the 26 Robin Morales. Row 10, the 16 of Leah Azelhard and the 60 of Jennifer Wilson, who had a pretty good run at Bristol last week. Row 11, the 51 Stella Arcadia, alongside the 45 of Liz Roberts. Row 12, Texas winner Jet Brackett, alongside the 77 Rose Lockport. Row 13, the 38 Isabella Fitzmaurice and the 78 Lexi Rockwood. Row 14, the 12 of Jackie Kennedy and the 54 of Brenda Davis. Row 15, our most recent winner, Lux Akuma in the 6, she won at Bristol, alongside the 88 of Madison Estrada. Row 16 is the 65 Latanya Gray and the 5 of Zoe Quinton. Row 17 is the 10 Eliza Evergreen, points leader coming into this one, and Irwindale winner alongside Pikes Peak winner Kieta Yoko. Row 18, the 62 Vinnie Schultz and the 59 Abby Buchanan. And row 19 is the 4 Cassidy Jones and the 24 of Ashley Johnson. We've got a bit of time before they're going to fire the engines. So, what do you think about this track, and what do you think we're going to see someone from the front go to victory lane, or do you think we're going to see someone towards the back just kind of methodically work their way up through?
It's 250 laps, so anything could happen here. Either one of the drivers up front is going to win, or someone further back. I'm gonna go a bit of a wild here, and go with Laura Sundale in the number 40 to win.
Alright, well, she did win at Nazareth, so got some experience at these kind of tracks. We saw in Bristol last week that Lux Akuma went from 36th to 1st to win that race, and real power drive that she took. And we also saw Cynthia Rariston in the Cup race at Bristol last week. She came back from 2 laps down to win that race, and that was after the halfway point that she was 2 laps down. She was able to get a couple free passes and work her way past the field and get back to the front and win the race. Let's get the command here.
Drivers, start your engines.
So Hageman and Aya will lead them off to the green flag. And we're doing the full pace lap here because the half pace laps at really short tracks like these are a little broken. So Hageman in that Toyota and Aya in another Toyota make up the front row. Aya's run great on these short tracks, but she's going to have to make it work from the outside here. The pace car is off, and we're just about ready to get going from South Boston. Green flag is out. Here we go. The 11 with a big jump on the start.
Yeah, it's gonna be good to see there. The 11 getting the outside lane to work on the start. Gonna be interested to see if they'll be able to hold on. Looking good so far.
Yeah, looks like they've ruled that that was a legal start from the 11. That's one thing you worry about when the driver in the outside lane gets such a big jump like that, is if they'll get called for a penalty. But the 11's had every opportunity to come down pit road and has not done so. So Takamoto Aya with the great jump off the start to get the lead here. Davenport fighting side by side with Munoz for third.
This is a very interesting here. Fouling for third, fifth. So it's going to take a while here, potentially, to go single file. See who has the better car in the long run. Gonna have multiple pit stops to go through as well.
Yeah, and as the run goes on, these tires will wear out even more and more and more. Munoz finally drops back into fourth. Davenport to third. Hageman sits in second as the 6 of Lux Akuma is on the pit road.
I have
That
got away.
that appears to be unscheduled. We'll see if we can get some information on that.
Either that had to have been a jump on the start or a mechanical failure from there.
She's driving back out, so... But unfortunately, she's going to be 2 laps down, and that's not a spot you want to be in at this point in the race.
And especially considering she won the last race here at Bristol from last year. However, if she's lucky with getting back on the lucky dog, there's still a chance, but not looking good for the 16.
Liam, you got anything on the 6?
Yeah, 6 teams reporting that a tire went down. Not what you want to see early on in this race. They got the tire changed. They're back out on the track, but a few laps down. It's going to take a bit to get back to, hopefully get back to the lead lap, but there's plenty of racing left.
Man, to have this happen so early on in a 250 lap race is unfortunate, but the 11 car is still holding on to a race lead. They're selling out right now. And where is the championship contenders here? The 18 and 95. Oh boy, 3 wide. That's going to be a bit tight. Have to try and left here. Okay, they're good for now. Being hectic back there in the mid-pack.
The mid-pack is absolutely crazy right now. There's a battle between Martel and Willis Calloway for the 6th position. Aya's still out front by about half a second. That's Eliza Evergreen, who is the points leader coming into this race. This is where she was. She was in the middle of that 3 wide. She's back in 23rd right now, battling with Robin Morales. Excuse me, she actually dropped back to 24th there. Martel's gonna get around Willis Calloway, so move the 82 up to 6th spot. And Hageman, who started on pole, still yet to lead a lap in this one. But the one thing that this track, I know that it does, is once they get into the lap traffic, that's when it starts getting, high action. And because of how short this track is, the lap traffic, they catch it quickly. You can see the 11 is already pretty well towards the tail of the field.
Yeah, it's 20 laps in. But then again, that's to be expected for a 4/10 of a mile track. Anyways, considering here, surprised they went caution free right now, considering we saw 3 wide early on. Hopefully they keep it that way for the long term at least.
Yeah, and I mean, at Bristol last week, we saw there was a ton of cautions in the first 100 laps. But after that, it was pretty well clean. There was only 2 cautions after lap 100 at Bristol. So these drivers, I think, may have figured out a little bit of how to race these short tracks. You can see the 6 of Akuma is actually kind of starting to push her way through a bunch of this lap traffic, so I think she's fairly fast.
Well, then again, considering she has the fresher tires compared to the other guys,
That's true.
as we see here,
Go ahead.
looked like the 11 was trying to pass the 54 there, getting very close to these lap cars. Gotta take a while for them to get through all.
She went real wide a couple corners there, and that's let the 81 close up.
Yeah, that 81's gotta have a chip on their shoulder, considering they started on pole and let the 11 jump them. 22's now looking to try and get by them beforehand.
Here comes Davenport.
Yeah, Davenport there battling for the second position as 54 is now going to get left. Hopefully get a bumper between them and the 11.
Woo, contact there between the 81 and the 22. I think the 81 tried to slot in, but she just wasn't clear yet.
Gotta run wide as a result, allowing the 7 to try and catch up there for this battle for second.
Davenport's taken the second spot away, but for how long is she going to hold that? And for how long is the 11 going to be able to hold the lead with how dicey this lap traffic is?
Well, as long as the 11 has a couple of cars in between them, should be fine for now.
Munoz has gotten third from Hageman. Here comes Deborah Williams in the 55 now, trying to get underneath the 81. The 81's continuing to slip quite a bit here.
Might be using up their stuff too early on. That's what happens here in some of these, in the early stages of these races.
And now the 11's got 3 cars in between them and the battle for second, which is a battle now because Munoz is getting underneath the 22 here.
22 probably trying to use the high lane to advantage. Not sure if it's going to work. Probably not. That's going to allow Alice Hagman to get by for third, for the time being at least.
11's gotten pushed out of line just a bit here. Munoz has gotten around the 54. The 11's getting kind of pushed out of the way by these lappers.
Oh boy, almost 3 wide. Thankful that wasn't the case there for the 11's sake. Munoz right there behind him, only 5 or so car lengths back.
Munoz is closing. Reina Munoz, she's closing in on Aya. And the 0's gotten to buy the 11 now, and the 11's going to have to drop down to the inside line if she can't get there.
Don't think she's going to get there in time. Here comes Reina Munoz. Might have backed off a bit, gone to 4. They're still side by side.
Ooh.
Allowing the 81. A little bit of contact there. Like I was about to say, that's going to allow the 81 of Alice Hageman to try and get back into the lead battle.
Munoz side by side with Aya. And I think the 7... She led that lap, so that is our first official lead change. Even if the 11's able to get back by, the 7 does have that bonus point for leading a lap. You know, the 81's going to get by this lap car. The 11's still holding on the outside of the 7 right now, though. Finally, she'll tuck back in.
She'll have to get down to the bottom quickly. That's going to allow Alice Hageman to get past. Might let Karina Calloway to get past as well.
Karina Willis-Calloway is one of the better short track drivers in the series. She's got a lot of experience on these kind of tracks, and she's running very well right now, up in the 4th position.
Battle there for 4th position between herself and Lynn Oswell in the 96th.
Oswell is a lap down.
Oh, wait, is he? Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's
Never
a lap
mind
down.
then.
And here comes the 81
with
for the
the
race
lap.
lead.
Finally, after... Wow, it's already been 43 laps, and the 81's finally gonna get the race lead.
Hey, she finally got out front. Finally got to lead a lap. For how long is she going to keep that lead, though? Here comes the 7, and here comes the 99. The 99's up to 3rd. She might try to get to
Yeah,
2nd.
good run here, starting from the 9th position, trying to get by 2nd. Although that's not going to work if she goes up wide.
Davenport trying to get underneath Aya now, as the 11 continues to slip and lose positions. We've been green all the way to start this race, and here comes the 99 for 2nd.
Oh boy. Not sure when pit stops are going to happen, but using the tires to the advantage at the right time, getting by the 7 for the lead, and A1's not too far ahead. Still side by side though. Okay, 99 gets by the 7 now.
Is she clear? And she will be now. Oh, caution! Caution
And
is
caution.
out. We have a caution. There has been a spin. I think it's down the back straightaway. I'm not sure
boy.
who it is. I think it might be the 38 of Isabella Fitzmaurice.
Oh, careful checking up. Okay.
Well, the 96 of Lynn Oswell will be the free pass car here, I think. No, actually, I think it'll be the 78 of Rockwood. Well,
Come on now.
okay, no, it is... What? Okay. It is the 96 that is the free pass car. The 78, I guess, is just got jammed up there. The 78 will get waved by. I believe she was supposed to be on the lead lap, but she'll get waved by if she's still a lap down after this caution period is done. Yeah, here comes everyone down pit road.
This is going to be the first real crucial stop here. 51 laps in. Going on the right side.
99!
And wow, Callaway with a great jump there.
Karina gets out of the pit road first. And the 99 will take the lead after pit stops.
That is some good strategy there. Wonder if she only took 2 tires there.
Let's see if I can find out. Nope, took 4.
Well, in that case, that was a very quick 4-tire stop there from the 99 crew.
Yeah, great job. Liam, what you got going on pit road?
It's 4 tires and fuel for everybody down on pit road as they all exit. Great stop for the 99 team. They're going to be super proud of that. But yeah, I mean, the entire field came down, took 4 tires and fuel. Great chance to reset and maybe fix things that weren't quite right with the setup when they started the race here.
All right, what happens here? Oh, the 40 spins out the 2 of Rachel Ramos, and there's where the 38 gets involved. 38
Had nowhere to go, basically.
just got stacked up there.
Well, that's going to retire the 40 from the race and trap multiple cars lapped down.
We're just getting reports the 11, Takamoto Aya, has retired from the race.
Oh, wow.
There's something happened with that car. Whoa!
Oh, no.
Exiting the pit lane.
That's what happened to a 40 car. Jeez. That was uncalled for.
That's,
Oh
the pit
no,
exit here.
and they're still stacking up.
The pit exit is really, really tight here, so that's not ultra surprising, but I think that's just a bit of a mix-up. All right, here we go. Green flag, back out.
Okay. A1 looking for the lead already. Really? They're 22 running wide, following with a lap car, and it looks like pretty much the entire top 5 has built a gap between everyone else as they're 3 wide there. And I believe that was third place in points there, the 42 in the middle of it.
It was Freya von Lundquist.
And oh, look at that 55 Deborah Williams on pit road.
55 is on pit road. The 16 of Leah Azelhart is on pit road as well.
Wonder what happened there.
Liam, what's going on?
More cars on pit road. I believe it is to repair the damage from the stack up in that incident with the 40 and the 11 when they came out right in front of the field, getting caught back up. It caused a lot of damage to some race cars, and they all pitted to get repairs done. It doesn't look like anybody got any penalties on the restart, which is good. But I could have just missed that.
78 Lexi Rockwood. We're hearing that she was not given the wave around signal on the restart, which is normal for lap cars in between the top 10. So we'll have to follow up with AWSCO officials on why she was not given that signal. Because the 22 is way wide and into the wall there.
That's not the right lane there. Speaking of right lane, 99 of Callaway holding steady with a 8/7/8/10 second lead. Although the A1 of Alice Hageman is looking to try and catch up if possible. The gap's now under 7/10.
81, I think, is faster. There's a battle for fourth. There's Von Weber battling with Munoz. Brasha, what's up on the 42 of Von Lundquist?
Yeah, we took a little bit of a look here with the 42 team on the last pit cycle. As you see, another car I think hit the outside wall behind her. That's the 54.
I think that was the 54.
Yeah, but regardless, we were I was going back with the crew chief of the 42 team, just kind of going over some of the changes they were making to the car, especially for that after that first run. Freya was complaining a little bit about that, about the car being a little bit tight in traffic, just a little bit of trouble getting the power down as well, and I'm surprised with she complained that there's a little bit of damage to the hood after I think she was right behind the 40 and the 11 when they had their incident, and actually no, she was right behind the incident that caused the caution in the first place. There was a little bit of hood damage on the car. I think you can see it on the broadcast. I'm surprised they didn't fix that, but it doesn't seem to be causing any concerns, and the car seems to be handling fine. No comments about that little bit of damage from Von Lundquist, as we now see her working on her McMillan teammate. I think it's the 7 of Reina Munoz. But yeah, good changes so far, and she's up to the top 5 now.
We also noticed there the 64 of Mayumi Moriyama was also down pit road there. Not sure what happened to them.
Appears to be damage repair, but we'll have to see if we can get any more information on that. Von Lundquist fighting with Munoz for the 5th position right here. This is a good battle here. 7's actually making use of the high side here.
That's very interesting considering how notorious the high side is on most tracks.
It's working.
Very good battle here. Not sure how long. And
yeah, 99's caught the 54 here. She's having some trouble getting around. And the 81's closing in. Alice Hageman closing in on Willis Callaway for the lead.
And it's going
slips
to
a
be
little wide.
made a bit more easier with the 99 running wide coming off of turns 1 and 2. A1 leads. A1 leads this time by and will probably clear next time round.
99 got a good drive off. Still side by side. Hagman trying to get by Willis Callaway. The 99's doing a good job on corner exit on the top side. We're seeing the 99's doing really, really well in 1 and 2 here. I think she's a little worse off in 3 and 4. I think that's where the 81's going to have to get clear, and yes, she will do so.
Took a while to get past there. That's going to potentially allow the 22 of Naomi Davenport to try and get by as well. Only 1.25 seconds stop by round. Still around 1.25 seconds.
Russia, what's up on the 22 of Davenport? Third place car.
Yeah, Echo, I was listening in on the radio conversations on the 22 after Davenport hit the wall on the outside, on the exit of turn 2 earlier. So far, nothing, no comments on the damage. It doesn't seem to have hurt the 22's pace that much. Interestingly, we saw the 54 hit the wall right after that, and the team elected to bring the car in immediately after to fix that damage. But the 22 team seems to have chosen not to do that. They may take the crew chief mentioned that they might take a look at it after if another caution comes out. But right now, no complaints on the handling front of that car. Though we'll see if that causes any bodywork issues as the race goes on.
Pulling into lap traffic, the 81's caught up to the 62. That's Vinny Schultz, who's not having the best of days.
That's gonna potentially allow Callaway to try and catch back up for a race lead if they battle for long enough there.
Yeah.
And 2 cars side by side, 54 and the 2 as well.
Yeah, cars side by side is not what Hagman wants to see in her windshield, because all that's doing is holding her up. And here comes the 99 underneath the 62. Gonna get by the 62, and now she's gonna be right on the 81's bumper here.
Have to get down to the inside lane as soon as she could. Thankfully that is the case, but she'll have to get around Rachel Ramos pretty soon if she doesn't want to get past by 99.
Oh, she slipped. Here comes Willis Callaway once again to the inside. And is the 99 gonna have enough room? Yes, she is gonna have enough room as we see another car on pit road. That is the 38 of Isabella Fitzmaurice. She's already got quite a bit of damage, so.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if she hit the wall again off the XF2. Possible. But in other words, 84 now of Casper von Weber gets by for the third position. And here comes Reina Munoz for 4th on the outside of the 22. Looks like the damage is now going to take into effect for a 22. Took a while, but
Liam, what do you have for us on the 38 of Fitzmaurice?
38, as you mentioned earlier, Echo, that 38 team already with a lot of damage on that race car, picked up a little more in that incident coming to the green under that last caution period. They're basically just going to stick it out, try and hang on to as much track position as they can get in this race with the damage they have. So it was bring Izzy down, try and get some of that damage fixed up, and then get her back out on the racetrack so she can try and gain as many points as possible.
Lexi Rockwood's on a charge. She wants to get either drive her way back onto the lead lap, or at least be in this position to get the lucky dog. The 78 is really moving right now. I think she's a little upset that she wasn't given the wave around signal.
And in other words, that's going to put the A1 back on the high side there. And here comes Von Weber in the 84. Was looking to try and get by for second as the 2 runs wide again. 84 should now have the bomb to herself to go side by side with the A1 and bring Rina Munoz with them.
Rachel Ramos got into the 78, made contact with her, and that was very close to being a major issue.
Now we have Freya von Lundquist now looking for the 5th position on the 22, and 45
Liz
is
Roberts.
Liz Robert. Was trying to get by for 6, but was stuck on the outside lane for a bit there, going to allow the 14 of Caitlin Edelstein to get by potentially for 7.
Edelstein just having a solid, smooth day so far. Liz Roberts, who's been a very good qualifier this year, hasn't really particularly been great at finishing out the races, but she's been a good qualifier. 99's kind of been slipped up to the high side once more. The 84's trying to close in. She has picked out a little bit of the 99's lead.
Now, even though you have several cars in between you, that does not guarantee you have a solid lead here. As we saw a couple of times there, A1 almost got into the outside wall, coming off of 2 again, going to allow the 42 of Von Lundquist to close up for 4th. In the meantime there, 7 now gets by the A4, as 98 still has a 1-second lead, but how long will she keep it for?
The 99's got a good bit of cars in between her and the 7 right now, but again, how you negotiate that lap traffic is exactly what will determine how this race plays out and really how it'll finish. Asha, what do you got on the 45, Liz Roberts?
Well, Echo, you mentioned the 45 running here up near the top 5 in 7th place, and we were looking at the starting grid, and well, Roberts started up in 22nd place on the outside of row 11, so that's a team that's been chipping their way through the field, and I think that's one of the cars to look out for over the course of the race. I did have a talk with their crew chief just right now, actually, and they said they were focusing on making that car as drivable as possible for Roberts, just to make sure she's as comfortable in this kind of situation as she can be, considering the kind of racing, kind of full contact racing we'll see here. Just making sure the Roberts keep the car pointed the right direction. They see that as the key to getting a good finish here.
All right. The 42, Von Lundquist, up to 4th spot now. She's gotten by Von Weber. Hageman slid back to 3rd. Willis Calloway, though, looking pretty strong so far. Been smooth all race, and she's just looked very strong and smooth in this one. And she's actually about to lap her teammate right now at Madison Estrada in the 88 car.
And 1.25 seconds, that's one of the longer gaps between the leader so far. And wonder if her teammate there of Madison Estrada is going to be nice and let her by quickly.
I'm sure she'd like that for that to happen. I'm not sure if it will, though.
And to point out, I'm still surprised that 22 of Naomi Davenport's still keeping up there with the rest of those. And just as I say that, she's getting passed by Vinnie Schultz. But I was about to say, doing pretty well considering how much damage, almost got damaged there again, but damage there to right side definitely gonna be hindrance on the next pit stop.
Whoa.
Almost made it 3 wide with, I believe that was her teammate there of the 2.
Whoa, and the 7 to the wall in the 81! And the caution is out. The caution is out as the 2 drivers battling for 2nd have taken each other out.
Man, drama here. Careful. Careful again. And that might be a perfect opportunity to go down pit road, perhaps.
I believe the 0 of Hideyoko will be the free pass car.
Man,
So yeah,
tough
I
break
think
there for both the 7 and the 81. Had such strong cars to start with, and probably gonna end multiple laps down, if not out of the race.
where's the 99 going? Still, we have about 24 cars in the. We had 23 cars in the lead lap. 0 gets the free pass, so she'll get back to. So she'll make it 24.
We'll have to see on who gets out of pit lane first.
I believe it'll be the
Looks
99.
like it is Callaway, then Von Lundquist. And Davenport made it off 4th.
Whoa, and the 0 is spun
Never
around.
mind. Never mind, just as I say that. That's even more damage for a 22.
Zero is. I'm not sure what the 0 is doing. Oh, actually, I know what the 0 is doing. Because when you get the free pass, you have to line up at the tail end.
I'm not sure if that's the smart thing to do it in the middle of the track. Careful.
It's fine.
Careful. Okay.
It's fine.
Should be
It's
good now.
It's definitely fine.
Anyways,
Ignore everything
Callaway's
suggesting
still
that
the
it's not
leader.
fine. Okay, so we've gotten the signal that they're going to start waving cars around. Okay, so we will go green this next lap. We're going to take a look and see what happened with the 7 and the 81. Did catch that. As they're coming off of turn 4, 81 gets into the 7. Gets into them, and the 81 just kind of stops on the track. The 35 just made a tiny bit of contact.
Not sure about that one.
64 and the 62 are just not going to take their lap back. All right. Well, they decided to go green without them. Here we go. Green flag back out. We're racing. Davenport to the inside on Von Weber. Look at that damage on this 22, and I don't think it's affecting her at all.
That is gonna be interesting there. I thought it was gonna be quite the opposite, as we have
What
a few
is
more
going
cars down.
on?
3 wide, 6 in the middle.
That is messy, but
And-
they're gonna make it through all of that somehow. The 81 and the
Yeah,
7 are actually still on the lead lap. They got waved
Surprisingly
around.
enough,
They're still on the lead lap. They're well back, and they've got a lot of damage, but
looks like Hideyoko went back on pit road. Same with the 64.
64, I believe, got penalized. The
Horiyama.
0, I think, maybe pit looping.
That's definitely an issue.
If the 0 continues to pit loop, she will be parked. There's Krista
We see
Anderson
a
battling with
few-
Sandy Martel. As we have crossed the halfway mark in this race.
A few new drivers coming up here in the top 5. Krista Anderson is now up to the 5th position in the Furry 5. 82, Sandy Martel in 6th. And 7th place is the 51 of Stell Arcadia.
Yeah, Stella Arcadia doing a pretty nice job so far. In that 51, she's really had to recover from having a pretty dismal start to the season, but you know, she's up here once again. And Davenport is in 3rd right now. The top 3, the only undamaged car of the top 3 is the 99, who's leading the race. The 22 looks like, well, it doesn't look very good as the 10 has just pulled down pit road and retired from the race. That's the points leader, Eliza Evergreen.
And she didn't even start that well to begin with. Sucks there. Any updates on the 10?
We'll see if we can get any word on that. Yeah, Liam, what's up?
10 just came down, pulled onto the pit lane, and she's out of the car. It's an engine problem that is going to take that points leading team out of the race. So not what you want to see when you're the leader in the points. That's an engine problem taking the 10 team out of the race today.
Tough luck for Evergreen, especially considering, you know, she got the call as well. She's running the cup race tomorrow in the 17 car in relief of Dira Reister, who's still dealing with an injury. Not the way she wanted things to go as the points leader. And for someone who had 3 top 5s in the last 5 races. Rough end of the day for Evergreen. Alright, well, we've gotten past halfway. I'm a bit scared to do this because every time we go to the studio for the mid-race report, there's always some kind of caution or incident or whatever. But I'm going to send it down to the studio with Rasha and Liam. You two, what do you have down there in the studio for us?
Hi Echo, welcome back to the infield studio we have here, and well, don't worry, Liam's here, so that's almost a guarantee that something stupid's gonna happen in this
Every
segment,
time I'm down here, something crazy happens during the mid-race break. So I've got my eyes peeled on the racetrack, just watching for something to happen.
Yeah, but I think we've got most of our pre-race calls correct. I think this race is definitely the racetrack is definitely a bottom feeder. The bottom lane is definitely the fastest. Although I think that the top lane isn't as bad as I thought it would be. Cars are definitely able to are able to hold up there, maybe make a few moves, but they can definitely fight back on the outside if they work on it. You saw that a couple times with some of the cars battling up front in the field. So I think if you have a good car, I think you can at least fight on the outside and maintain position for a little bit. What do you think?
I mean, the top lane has been quick. I believe. Hold on, that's Robin Morales on the pit lane.
That's a 26 pulled into pit lane there. Well,
anyways, as we get back, I will sort out pit reports in a few. I just want to talk about what we've seen so far today. 38 on pit road as well. We'll have to get an update on that. Here comes the chaos. Yeah, that top lane hasn't been the strongest today, but I've seen cars been able to generate runs as they get up there. Most of that comes down to the fact that, as long as you can find grip, you'll be fine. We've seen some cars slide up into the outside wall at a 2 there with that access road. And a flush shot to a flat wall coming out of the corner is not exactly what you need to get your day going strong. But it hasn't seemed to hinder the 22, who's running in 3rd place right now.
Yeah, that 22, I mean, I think it's a common adage in short track racing that a little bit of damage doesn't really hurt anyone. And I think that 22's kind of a living example of it right now. You can see all that. You can see all those tire marks in a crumpled up sheet metal on the right side, and you see that hood's bent in a little bit. It doesn't seem to have any effect on that car. That car is just marching up the field. Every time she's been pulled back, she's able to find a way back in, and I think that just goes into what you said in terms of wherever you can find grip, just run it there. And the 22 so far has been really good at that. At least in the first half of the race. But yeah, lots of elbows out racing. Cars are definitely using the chrome horns here. A little bit of bumper action. Cars are shoving others out of the way, especially a lot of lap cars. Especially with lap cars. These lap cars don't really seem to be wanting to get out of the way, as we see these pair of teammates here. I think these are the Uberman cars, the 82 and 84. Good runs for them so far. Haven't seen much good really happen to Uberman in this series, so I think that's a good run of form for them in this race. If they can keep that up and finish that, it'll be a really good result for them.
I mean, we want to talk about using the chrome horns. I saw earlier, I believe it was the 81 got right up behind the 2 car and just straight up the back bumper of that lap car to try and get her up out of the way. Obviously didn't end up working out in the long run for the 81, getting turned around and up onto the wall, but she's still racing still, I believe, on the lead lap, but
I think they just fell a lap down.
Just fell a lap down.
But yeah, the drivers so far have been keeping things relatively clean. There's been a few incidents, but I think nothing except for that incident on the exit of pit lane. That's a different story, but
I didn't even have a report for that.
I don't know what to think about that either.
Those tractor tires have some bounce to them.
But yeah, otherwise, the drivers have been behaving themselves on track. There's been a lot of physical moves using the bumper and using elbows to get the cars out of the way. But otherwise, nothing that's too out of the pale for a short track. I think we saw these kinds of moves in Irwindale and Bristol, and this is exactly the kind of racing we expected of this track. So
yeah, and I mean, I've heard some frustration over the radios from some of the drivers. I mean, there was an incident between the 2 and 78 where they got right into each other's doors. 78 not happy with how the 2 came down on her in the corner. That was 2 lap cars battling it out for what was at the time the lucky dog position. So even further back in the field, you're going to have that aggression going on here at short track racing. I did receive an update on the 38 car as to why she was on pit lane. It was an oil leak to make a bad day worse for Isabella Fitzmaurice. They had to come down and fix that, and then from what I'm hearing, it was just some damage repair for the 26 team. Nothing too serious, but it did put them in a bit of a worse track position than where they were a few laps before.
I mean, if the 38 seems to have no front end whatsoever, that can't possibly be very good for the engine, I would assume. There's probably a few pieces that are out of shape or not in the right place, and that's kind of what happens in short track racing. Although we haven't seen the kind of damaged car shenanigans that we saw at Irwindale. We saw cars with no front ends running up front, challenging for the win. We haven't seen that yet, but
I mean, we've seen some damaged cars up front. We see the 42 chasing down the 99 car, no lap cars between them, and that is with a damaged front end. And then even in third, the 22 car there with damage on pretty much all sides of the race car.
Yeah, pretty much. And well, speaking of these cars battling for the win, I think we'll take a look at our FanDuel fan pick segment here. Liam, I'll start with you. Are you looking at anybody in particular to challenge for the win today?
I'm seeing her in second right now. I'm really liking the 42 of Freya von Lundqvist. She's been quick all day, even with that damage on the race car. I mean, not that corner, but even with the damage on the race car, she's been running really well, chasing down that 99 car. I think she's going to be the one to watch coming to the finish of this race today.
Yeah, definitely. The 42, as I mentioned earlier, I followed her team for the first half of the race, and yeah, they were very busy making a lot of changes and adjustments to the car, and they're definitely proactive. They're definitely proactive in terms of making setup changes as the race goes on. Personally, I'm gonna go with a car that's sitting in fifth right now, the 45 of Liz Roberts. I think that's another one of these teams that have just been doing their best to chip away at the field. They started, as I think I mentioned earlier, they started out in 22nd, the outside of row 11, and they've just been making good progress over the course of the race. They're now finding themselves in the top 5. It might take a caution, but I think that 45 definitely has the pace to challenge for the win as well, and think you definitely have to look out for her come the end of runnings here. And with that, we'll head it over on back to the booth. Liam, do you have any final words as we before we do so?
No, I mean, I'm gonna keep enjoying the race here from the infield. We'll keep you guys posted on anything that happens down on pit road. I think I'm ready to hear the picks from the booth here.
Yeah, I'll be doing.
So take it away, guys.
I'll be doing the same too, and well, we'll take it over to the booth for their picks. Echo, you have anyone you're looking at here?
Oh, let's ask Matthew first. You're the guest here. What's your pick? Who do you think's looking like the best car right now?
Now, I'm not gonna say for certain, but I like where the Furry 5 is. Keep an eye out for Furry 5. Krista Anderson. Hadn't really seen her too much until this point, but she's now up to 4th and closing in. She's closing in quietly. Don't be surprised if she gets by the 22 at some point around lap 200 or so. Oh no, the 54 just stopped on the racetrack, and that's gonna be a caution.
Brenda Davis with some sort of issue. She's stopped on the track, and that resulted in the caution coming out. Well, I'll give my pick as well. You all left me. Whoa, okay.
Oh, tempers flaring there. Not sure what style about.
I'll take the 99 Karina Willis Callaway for the race win in here. She looks pretty strong. She's led a lot. I think the 99 is going to be hard to beat, as we've got our final pit stop coming up here.
Not sure what happened there between Liz Oswell and Madison Estrada, but something had to have happened beforehand.
99 wins the race out. Second off pit road will be the 22.
And oh boy, that's even more damage for the Furry to deal with.
Well, let's see what happened to the 54 of Brenda Davis. She was, yeah, that car just... Clearly something's wrong. She got hit by the 4 of Jones and just stopped. Okay, that will do it.
Let's see if we can get an update on what happened to the 54 of Brenda Davis.
Yeah, Liam, what's up?
Well, I got that update on the 54 right now. That it was a tire down, just missed the pit lane, couldn't get back there, and then by the time she did get to the bottom of the racetrack, got hit by Jones, and it was pretty much over for that team. They ended up getting it back out on the racetrack, but brought out another caution. Does that count towards our halfway curse?
I think it does.
We'll count it. All right, back to you guys.
Alright, as we go through cars to wave around, that's going to be a good opportunity here for Frederick van Lundquist, who is top 3 in points, and especially for the 35 of Krista Anderson. And our drivers, I see here, 60 machine of Jennifer Wilson. Haven't seen her too much inside the top 10. 5 machine of Zoe Quinton's in the top 10. Third, all the way back in 30 seconds. Remind you of that. As they start back down pit road.
Green flag.
And green flag on lap 175.
Green flag is back out. Here we go. Willis Callaway.
Immediately following there for a second there.
Davenport.
42 wasting no time.
Davenport took the second spot on the pit road. The 42 is going to grab it right back right away.
And Burr back there.
Look at this.
82's going to get by.
3 wide back here.
Yeah,
3 wide
three
for
wide.
that's for 11th.
Not sure if that's gonna work. They keep it together for now. That's gonna allow the 93 to potentially get by for a top 10. Good run here for Izzy Obraham.
Izzy Oberman, who's won twice this season at Nashville and in Fontana.
And now this race is gonna go upside down if it hasn't already here. 60 machine of Wilson getting by the 45 of Roberts for 6. 35 slip back a bit there, allowing the E2 of Sandy Martel to get by for 4th, although using the high lane again. Still battling there for 2nd a bit, and that's exactly what Callaway wants to see behind her rearview mirror.
Yeah, Karina's really, really trying to run away with this one. I think it's easy to say that she's absolutely at least led the most laps in this race.
Yeah, by no question. Ever since that first pit stop, basically, 99 has been basically unstoppable here.
The only one that competed with
six-
her was the 81, and now the 81, you know, way back here.
Yeah, A1 and the 7 both took each other out. But that's just how short track racing is. More free wide here between some lap down cars. Keep it there. They keep it clean for now.
A few cars.
Although they almost made it 3 wide again.
There were a few cars that stayed out on that last caution, and I was very interested because they took the wave around. Martel trying to take third away here from Davenport. The 82 looking really fast. Some much needed good luck for this Uberman Racing, Uberman Enterprise team. They just have not had any luck at all this year, and finally they've got the 82 Martel running up in third right now.
Double top 10 is definitely a way to turn a season around, that's for sure.
Absolutely. 84 is up here as well.
Here comes 95. I believe that is second in the points there.
Yeah, Cara Reynolds.
Cracking the top 10 for the first time.
Yeah, we
Very
haven't really
surprising
seen
there.
we haven't really seen much of Reynolds today, but you know, I think she's making it count when the pay window opens as the caution is out. We have another incident. It is the 51 of Arcadia. And I believe she had been running in the top 10, but she has spun around.
Not sure what happened there. And that might be enough for these guys to make it to the end.
I think
perhaps?
I think this most recent stop might have been the last one. But we'll see if they come in again right here.
60 laps to go.
Looks
Will
like they're
they
not coming
risk
in.
another
They're gonna,
pit stop?
looks like they're gonna stay out here. 24 Ashley Johnson is the free pass car, so the 24 will be told to drive around everybody here. '51's retired from the race after that accident. I'm going to export really quickly so that I have something to fall back on if the game decides to blow up. And I'll save a replay as well. Rashid, what do you have on the 77 of Rose Lockport?
Well, Echo would mention. Guys were mentioning cars that were making good of the circumstances once the pay window opens. That 77 car is sitting pretty well right now, running in the top 10 ahead of the 45. That was my pick for the that was my pick for the win. As we see that replay, the 51, that is a pretty vicious crash there for the 51 of Arcadia. But yeah, as I was mentioning, in terms of cars making good on their pay window, the 77 started a row behind Liz Roberts in 24th place. Right now, just entered the top 10. That's a driver. That's kind of just been running pretty cleanly so far this race. Nobody's really paid that much attention to her, but she's up here in the top 10 now. With just over 50 laps to go. And I'd also want to give an honorable mention to.
Oh dear.
What is the 78 doing?
Oh crap.
It's fine.
Anyways, yeah, I want to give honorable mentions to the two cars that started on row 16. 31st and 32nd, Latanya Gray and Zoe Quinton are sitting in the top 15, just outside the top 10. I think Quinton's in 13th, and I think Gray is only a few spots behind her.
Well, ignore what happened there with the 78. We should get back to green flag in a few second time. Rest of the field has to get caught up ASAP if they.
We're gonna
want to
give
have
them
a
another
chance
lap.
at
We're gonna put up
anything.
another lap of yellow so that they can get by a little
Okay,
quicker.
good
I don't
call.
know what the 78. I don't know what the 78 was doing there. That was weird. But
Yeah.
I guess waving her around fixed it. So you know what? Nobody else will get waved around. I'm not sure what the 78's thought process there was, but we'll be going back to green here with about 54 laps to go. Pay window's about to open here in South Boston. And
Can anyone catch up to the 99 of Callaway? We'll see here as we get the green flag with 55 laps to go.
Andresen underneath, Davenport for 4th. Martel looking underneath Von Lundquist. That might be a fight for second. It is.
Rose Lockport as well on the move here, up to 6th position. As 35 gets
78's
by
on pit
for
road.
Yeah, and goes bad to worse for the 78. Was one of the first cars to get a lap down. And meanwhile, they're still battling here for a second. A2 of Martel does get by, but that's just going to allow Callaway to extend their lead even further.
There's Rose Lockport moved up to 5th spot. She's driven by the 22 of Davenport. Pretty respectable run as well. Latanya Gray, she's sitting 15th right now, battling Zoe Quinton right here. You know, at a short track, we expect Latanya to make all the noise. Oh, the 95 gets into the wall. She hung on to
Nice
it.
save
Great
there.
save by Reynolds. And she kept the position.
Wow, that was close there considering all we saw unfold this race. We just had a car flip on the last caution, for crying out loud there. 45 there of Les Roberts is looking for the 6th position. Again on Jennifer Wilson. Those two have been trading places for quite a bit there. Looks like the 45 will have the better advantage as gets clear. And now the 22 in their sight.
'78 just exiting the pits now. She exited right next to the 99. That might actually help the 82 close in here a little bit.
We'll
It's
see
not
here.
going to.
We still
That might
have-
actually stall up the 82. Rockwood's kind of just throwing herself in the lead battle, even though she's nowhere near it. 32nd is where she's scored right now, 7 laps down, so not been a great day for Lexi Rockwood.
Yeah, at this point, I'd probably just retire the car, honestly. Don't want to interfere with the leaders at this point.
You're trying to get as much points as you can. If somebody else has an issue, you could pass them on in terms of you could pass them, gain a point or two. I mean, that 99's looked untouchable since about lap 100. Karina has been on a she's just been really running them down, but I don't know. She's still got to hang on for another 40 laps here. And look who is on the move, catching up to her, to the 82.
And this is the closest that anyone has got to passing the 99 for this race lead. You'll need to hope that the 99 gets caught on the outside lane here so that the 82 has a chance. Although the 82 runs wide and 99 takes advantage of the 81 running wide as well.
Willis Calloway holding on to the lead. She's led most of this race. The 82, Sandy Martel, driver who has really struggled to qualify for races at all this season. She's way deep in the points. I don't even think she's in the top 40 right now. Freya Van Lundquist, 3rd place in points right now. You know, she's on a run trying to get towards that points lead. I mean, Sadie Martel, she's qualified for 3 races. She's literally sitting last in points right now in that 82 car. A win from that spot in points would be crazy. But it would be something of a boost that this team absolutely would need. And it would at least help them get into more races in the future, considering that that would come with the past winners provisional as well.
Yeah, that could be a nice benefit there for what has been, frankly, a miserable start to the season there. And pretty much all of the top 5 have cleared the 78 now at this point. However, the 4 now is not too far ahead. Cassidy Jones is the next car to be lapped by these leaders. See how the 99 fares when lapping them.
Lap traffic's going to be everything. How you get through these lap cars is going to be worth everything. And for, you know, this is where we've seen the most action so far is in the lap car mix. We're seeing the 42 of Freya Van Lundquist is starting to close in as well here.
Notice that the
82's slipping a
82's
little
been
high.
running wide. Yeah, 82's been running wide quite a few times.
Hey, here comes the
These
42.
last few laps. And here comes the move.
Not going to get it, though.
Or not quite yet. Still
82
has
had
plenty of time to
82's
get
getting
them.
some really good drive off so far. She's really going wide this time. Let's go let the 42 get underneath again. And this time the 42 is going to keep it on the inside into the corner. Slips up, just pushes the 82 up the track just a bit. And Von Lundquist is back up into 2nd.
That's exactly what she needs there. Using the lap car of Cassie Jones as a pick to get by for 2nd. And 4th place is not too far behind. Christia Anderson is not too far off the 82, nor is the 77 of Rose Lockport.
This is an interesting stat, but I think somebody pointed this out to me. Izzy Oberman in the 93, every time she's finished a race this year, she's had a top 10. She's only finished 3 of the 10 races to start this season. she's on track to finish a 4th and finish it in the top 10 as well. So, interesting storyline there as well for Izzy Oberman, who's been kind of plagued with bad luck outside of her good... kind of plagued with bad luck when she's running well. And yeah, the 42's closed in on the 99. 99 slips. 42's looking, but she's
this
not going to be
might
able to
be
get it
it.
here.
Look like there. And right behind the 0 car of Hideki Yoko.
He had a Yoko.
Yoko. Yeah, that's it. Well, I was going to say, wonder if it's affecting the aerodynamics being behind that 0 car. But just as I say that, the 82 is looking to the outside of the 42 once again. Battling for a second yet again. That's going to allow Anderson to possibly get to the battle for seconds.
99 kind of being held up by her manufacturer teammate, I guess you could say, because he had a Yoko and Willis Callaway both drive Hondas. And here comes Andresen for 3rd.
It's going to be very close
Everyone
here.
slips high.
Less than 20 laps to go. Make the right move now.
Here comes
That's all I have
Martel.
to say.
82 to the inside.
And considering, like you said, last
got it.
points passing there, that is the first time in about 100 laps we had a lead change here. And of all people, it's Sandy Martel.
Here comes
Or
Anderson.
is it? Here comes Christia Anderson.
35
Not
is
over
there.
just yet. 42's not of this. Neither is the 77. That's going to allow the 93 of Izzy Orban to catch up to them as well.
There's Von Lundquist
Definitely
now
not
up
over
here.
yet.
Lockport is here. Oberman is here. Katrin Edelstein in the 14's closing in on this as well. They're going to be 3 wide for second. Here's Lockport trying to get underneath.
This is some exciting stuff if they can hold it out for 10 more laps here. Man, we're going to have a Hall of Fame finish here in the making. Look
35,
at the
Anderson
77.
out front. Here's Rose Lockport in, up to second now. Martel's in 3rd.
Somehow
Oberman
came up to
4th.
second.
Von Lundquist 5th. Willis Callaway slipped all the way back to 6th. She might fall to 7th here with Edelstein closing in.
Man, tough
They're going to go
break
3
there.
wide again.
They're still going 3 wide there.
10 laps to go.
Sandy Martel.
And we reached our Windows 11 to go. Martel trying to get up here. Trying to get around
Anderson
Lockport.
running wide. Might allow the 82 to catch up a little bit there, but still, it's a hornet's nest out there. Top 4 all under a blanket. 82 runs wide again. Here comes Rose Lockport back to the 2nd position.
35 goes wide. Martel gets to the inside on Anderson.
Just seeing
Anderson led at the
all
line.
the action. Man, just imagine seeing all the action behind Hideki Yoko rear view mirror right now.
Martel back to the front with 6 to go. Oberman's up to 3rd. She might try and go for 2nd here. The 0's still been holding up everybody. The 82 slips wide. So does the 35. Here comes Izzy Oberman. 5 to
Izzy
go.
Oberman, not too long ago, was outside the top 10 and is now competing for a win. That's how fast things change here. And here she goes.
Here she
Going
goes.
for the race lead.
For the lead goes the 93.
Still there. Will When will the time be to clear? Not yet.
Not clear
Three
quite
to
yet.
go this time by.
3 to go. 42 got really loose in the back. 99 fighting with the 14 back here. 93 and 82 side by side still. 82 slips way high. Oberman's gonna get clear. 2 laps to go. Anderson looks underneath Martel for second.
It's still not over yet. 93 wants right now. Anderson looked to the bottom of the 82. And
White flag.
coming to the final lap. Will she get down to the 93 in time?
Oberman
Not
just
quite
cut her off
sure.
there.
That might be all
Here we
she
go.
wrote.
Side by side.
Or
They're going to be
not.
side by
Side
side.
by
Photo
side.
finish. Oberman got it.
Wow.
What a finish. Izzy Oberman just pulls it out, and her 3rd win of the season in 11 races. And an absolutely crazy finish at South Boston.
Man.
Wow.
And how about that for Latanya Gregg in the top 10? Laying the going. But once again, congratulations there for Izzy Overman for just holding on there for the last lap. A great run there for Sandy Martel in 3rd. Man, that race was amazing.
And that's the thing, is once they get in that lap traffic and it gets jammed up, that's when you see all the action, and it just happened at the exact right time for the finish. 0.084 seconds, the margin of victory, closest in Continental Series history. That's actually tied for the closest in AWSCO history with this season's Daytona 500. So, what a race. I mean, you have any final thoughts on this one before we send it back to the studio? Just an absolutely stellar showing at the end there.
Just when you think it was over, it wasn't over yet. Gotta hand it there to Karina Calloway there. Had the most laps led by far, and even though it's not a race win, it's still a top 10 finish. So, pretty good momentum there for the 99 team, hopefully.
Yeah, Willis Calloway led 168 of the 250 laps, which is going to have to settle for a 6th place finish. Izzy Oberman, first time she's won a race this season where she didn't start dead last. Still a lot of great runs for a lot of drivers. I mean, Chris Andersen, who had kind of struggled to qualify earlier on in the season, she manages a 2nd place. Sandy Martel, that's the obvious one, last in points. Up with a 3rd place finish. Freya von Lundqvist, P4, great for her in the point standings. And Rose Lockport, kind of one who didn't really show up a lot. She's pretty deep in the points, came in 30th. And comes out 5th in this race. All right, well, we're going to send you back to the studio for the post-race report. Russia, Liam, what do you two have for us after that finish?
I mean, how many times are we going to get to the finish of one of these races, and all we can say to open up this post-race segment is, wow.
Yeah, that was simply amazing. An absolute stunner of a finish, I think. That I don't think you would be able to tell who was going to win out of that. I certainly couldn't. Cars were just moving each other out of their way. About 6 or 7 cars were in that mix. I think in the last 15 laps, cars were moving up and down that pack. You really had no idea who was going to pull it off in the end. It was that
If you'd have told me 50 laps ago that there would be, like the entire top 10 under the blanket of a second, and the finish would come down to, just under a 1/10 of a second, I wouldn't have believed you. Because the 99 was running away with this race. And we get down to those last 15, last 10 laps, and it was a different leader every single lap. That was insane.
Yeah, it just took getting that. Once the 99 was taken out of the way for the lead, everyone was scrambling for it. It really did feel like a mad dash for first place. Everyone wanted it, and nobody was able to keep it for very long.
The 99 got moved out of the lead, and the floodgates opened, and it was just pandemonium.
Yeah, it definitely helped. They were all stuck behind the zero if he hit a Yoko. But at the same time, that car, those lap cars, we mentioned, I think the booth mentioned this earlier, that once you get to the lap cars, they really affect the handling of the car, and there's not a lot you can do other than moving them out of the way. And if you can't do that, get ready to have to defend for your life, and that's exactly what everyone did. We saw a lot of aggressive attacking and defending moves and defensive moves being made for that win there. I think everyone knew what was on the line. Nobody went too far. There wasn't anything. You didn't see anyone, spin a car out or anything like that. But that kind of heavy physical racing, lots of moving cars out of the way, shoving cars out of the way a little bit, just giving cars a little bit of a push. That's exactly the kind of thing we expected out of a short track like this, and boy did it deliver.
That finish reminded me of when you get a really good Xfinity Series finish at Bristol, except for all the cars made it across the line in one piece, which is really all you can ask for.
Yeah, pretty much.
That was just a great
that
race.
was about as good of a finish as you can expect from a short track like this. It was a side-by-side drag race off of turn 4. You didn't really know which one of those cars was going to make it. It was pretty close. But yeah, congrats to Izzy Oben on a third win of the season. Just notching down those wins just to start the season. That 93 team is just really good at being there at the end, getting those wins. We saw her get that win at Nashville. We saw that second win, I think, was at Auto Club, I believe. Auto Club with that pit strategy. And just taking the undercut of everyone. And this time around, it was just on, kind of just timed it well in the end. When it comes, when you, at that point in the race, it was just, can you get to the lead at the right time? And can you hold on to the lead enough to see the checkered flag? Because that's exactly what she did. One more lap in the 35 would have had her easily.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll talk up the finish. I could talk up the finish for hours, but the entire race was incredible as well. We had a few accidents. Obviously, we saw, forget which car it was that got upside down.
I think that was the 40. Well, that was the 40 and 11, right? Is that the pit lane one?
No, 40 and 11 was just after that. I'm thinking about the 51.
Oh yeah, Stella Arcadio jumped up the wall. Yeah,
jumped up the wall, got upside down. We had a few sizable accidents, but nothing that caught up too many cars in it. Most of the cars in the field finished, within 1 or 2 laps of the leader.
Yeah, and I think that, you can see the testament to that. 21 cars on the lead lap. That's not something you see on on a short track typically. You see fewer cars finishing on the lead lap at speedway tracks in this series, so that's definitely something to celebrate. I think a lot of good racing and a lot of good clean racing most of the way.
Small track, great racing, and yet they still managed to have pretty much half the fields stay on the lead lap, which is really impressive if you think about it.
Yeah, and it definitely shows the effort that these teams put into the car's preparation and these drivers put into learning the track. All of these drivers are very well studied, and they come from all sorts of backgrounds. But when it comes to race days and how they perform on a track, it is very close, and there's not much to separate these guys. And
no,
I mean, this does make me excited for the rest of the season, in terms of what this means for the championship race that we'll see later on. I think.
You know what this makes me excited for.
Mm-hmm.
You had just pointed it out, the AWSCO Championship Series race.
Oh yes,
tomorrow here,
Series,
400 laps at South Boston Speedway. That is going to be a show for sure.
Yeah, I think if 250 laps at this track is an event, wait until you see 400 laps here tomorrow night for the top series, and that'll be I think even more of an event But yeah, going down the results of the race, definitely congratulations on the 65 of Latanya Gray. Good run for her. Started out way behind the field. I think at 31st place.
I mean, she got out of the car so quick on pit lane, the game registered her as retiring.
Yeah. I think Echo mentioned this in the booth. We usually, when you're talking about Latanya Gray, we're usually hearing a lot of fireworks from her, especially at a short track. But I think for this time around, I think she just kept her head down and just whittled her way down the field, past as many cars as possible. And that's exactly the kind of work that we want to see out of that 65 team. Had a lot of sloppy incidents, a lot of crashes, sloppy incidents, and a few mechanical failures early on to start the season. But this run, I think, is a really good sign for them. Shout out to the 88 of Madison Estrada as well. We saw that car almost get lapped by our teammate earlier on the race. So good recovery for them, finishing up in the top 15.
Rashi, I did just want to touch on the 65 there and Latanya Gray, just saying, like, it's great to see, cooler heads sort of prevail with that team. Latanya's attitude can sometimes get her in a bit of trouble on the racetrack. She kept her head down, like you said, and pulled out a really good result with the top 10. So hopefully we see more of that this season.
Yeah, pretty much. And finally, I think I do want to point out that 6 of Lux Akuma finished first car on the lead lap, considering we saw them on the track with a tire down basically on lap 1. That's good recovery for that team, and that's considering the 6 is pretty high up in the points. I think fourth behind the 42. So these kinds of races where things don't go right for you.
You will definitely take a 22nd place finish.
Making good on getting as many points as possible when things don't go right for you. Any final words before we send it back off to the booth, to Echo in the booth for our closing statements, Liam?
No, I think that's pretty much all we need to cover here. Obviously, I said earlier we could cover that finish for hours if we wanted to, but we don't have the time for that. So I'm gonna send it back up to the booth there.
All right, with that, we'll send you
guys
back.
Close it out.
All right, thank you for that, Liam. Well, it's been a pleasure being here with you in the studio and in pit lane for the nice race. We'll send it over to Echo for our closing statements.
Yeah, and absolute stunner there at the end of this race, and you got to feel for Karina Willis-Callaway, especially leading that many laps and just not being able to come up with it. But still, a 6th place finish is good for her. But Izzy Oberman just knows how to get it done at the end. She just led 4 laps in this one, and they happen to be 4 of the most important laps. Well, next week we'll be at Hillside for the Continental Series, and tomorrow night it'll be the Cup Series at South Boston right here, and then next week the Cup Series will be in Pocono, Pennsylvania for a fun race there. On behalf of Matthew, Liam, and Arashia, I'm Echo. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.